There are only so many media personalities out there for us to listen to when it comes to U.S. men's national soccer content and reporting. And from the get go, I don't think that any of us can point to a personality and say, well, that person overall is a likable person, or I like hearing the content that's coming from this one person. Maybe that person is out there. I don't know. Now, when I say media personality, I'm talking anybody when you drop their name that you can point to them and say, well, I know who they are. I've heard or seen content from them regarding the U.S. men's national team. And that is who I'm saying with content. And I'm here today to tell you that I am at kind of a tipping point with one of them. Charlie Davies just mentioned something on his CBS show that I'm just kind of curious. And one of the things that I am wondering about is the whole Pochettino. Where is Pochettino? Why isn't he signed? What's going on? And I think that there is a responsibility for a lot of these talking heads that the bigger your platform that you're on, the more responsibility that you have in what you report. Now, let's just stick to this particular person, content, U.S. men's national team. Don't bring any of the other stuff in on this. But the bigger the platform, I think the more responsibility and the more effort you have to do to where you're not posting stuff that is kind of clickbait or just kind of you're doing it just to get the attention. Charlie Davies has done this several times. I am at a tipping point to where I will tell you, and please hold me accountable, if this turns out to be true, then I will come out and be like, okay, Charlie Davies will be one of my top soccer personalities that I am going to follow and listen to. And if it's not, I can kind of write him off. I'll be honest, I'm coming from an avenue where he's not one of my favorites. There's a whole group of soccer personalities out there to where it's just, they definitely know their soccer. Whether it's bigger media folks or guys that we're kind of watching on YouTube. And I try to take a little sampling of all of it, and then I try to process together what I'm hearing. Because I am like you, I'm just a regular fan of the U.S. men's national team. And I like discussing it. I like talking to other people about it, but basically in good faith. What I don't particularly care for, and everybody has their own flavor of what they'd like to consume, is the overly loud, kind of braggadocious, kind of I've got all these secret insider info people that are giving me some information, or what. Either tell us or don't tell us. There's a fine line in dealing with stuff like that. But Charlie Davies came out yesterday and started throwing around this idea about the ManU situation. That perhaps, maybe, he was wording it very carefully, that the ManU situation with Ten Hag could perhaps be an issue with why Pochettino has not signed, that they're making a late run into saying, hey, why go and do the U.S. team when you can stay here and coach one of the best teams in all of soccer football history, right? They're making a late run at trying to get him. I think this is kind of one of those things where he's just looking to get attention again. You know, we go back to the whole dialogue that he had when we were talking about the possibilities of bringing in a coach, how he understood it with the women's team and having to bring in a coach at the same pay rate, on the same pay scale. And when he first came out with that, I was like, oh, interesting. Okay, yeah. And then almost immediately after he said that, and person after person after person comes on after him in different media outlets. Some of them named him, some of them didn't. Some would just say, there's talk about if you're going to pay this on one side, you have to pay this on the other side. And everybody came out and said that's just not true. I think Charlie Davies is back at it again. I don't think he's a bad guy. My thing is what he does and how he presents it is just not my thing. It's the same thing with a lot of people that have issues with Alexi Lalas. Alexi Lalas, is he one of my favorite media heads to get my U.S. soccer information from? No. Are there things that he says that just kind of rubs you the wrong way? I mean, you can't be the guy, the favorite person for everybody. So I get that. With the ManU situation and why I'm saying I'm at a tipping point, let's just say if that turns out to be true and he's not doing this just to get headlines out there. Oh, but Brian, you're doing the same thing talking about it. This Brian guy is doing the same thing. Maybe kind of. I'm talking from the perspective of him, though. I'm not creating content trying to push out that ManU narrative, because there is nothing else out there other than Charlie Davies and then these like true crime U.S. national team podcasters or YouTube people that are throwing that out there simply just to get the clicks. My allergies are just awful right now. If it turns out to be true and Pochettino, the deal falls through and it's Manchester United that comes out, and I will tell you though, I think late yesterday, the club came out and said, hey, Ten Hag is our guy. He's not going anywhere. He's our guy. When clubs or teams come out and say that, you're days away from getting canned. So here's the opportunity, Charlie. I am either going to be your biggest respected fan to where I'm like, hey, I will make a point to listen and watch everything that you do, or we're going to tip the other way. And I'm going to be like, occasionally I'll watch, but you're now in a category to where we can't take you seriously, or I can't take you seriously. I'm not going to be that guy that's going to go out there and just rail on him or Lawless or anybody else all the time about it. Again, I like taking my information from a whole swath of people at, again, different areas of the media. I love getting information from more of the bigger platforms because generally it's a little more researched, or there's more repercussions for putting out bad information. Is it perfect? No. And that's not what I'm here to say. I'm sure somebody can go in and clip out what I just said and be like, oh, big media, big media. And there's another YouTuber who's like, big media, and then consistently promotes when he gets big media people to come on to be a guest on his show. And I enjoy some of his content as well. We won't say who it is because we're trying to stay focused on Charlie Davies and this particular incident here. So here we go. The watch for Pochettino. If it falls through and he goes to ManU for whatever reason, Charlie Davies, you'll be one of my top watches from here on out, and I'll come out and apologize. And if Pochettino ends up signing with the U.S., hopefully we can go and just focus in on the U.S. team, but then I get to move Charlie Davies to the category of not to be taken very seriously.